Park Tae-ho stepped off the transport ship and took his first breath of station air. It smelled like metal and cleaning chemicals. Orbital Station 9 floated in the empty space between 3 solar systems, and it was now his home for the next 2 years. He carried one bag over his shoulder. Inside were his clothes, his tools, and a small photo of his family back on Earth. He didn't need much else. He was here to work, not to collect things. The docking bay was full of aliens. Tae-ho had seen pictures during his training, but pictures were not the same as real life. A tall creature with 4 arms walked past him, its blue skin shining under the lights. 2 small aliens with big black eyes argued in a language that sounded like clicking stones. A group of furry beings laughed together near a food stand, their mouths full of sharp teeth. Tae-ho smiled. He liked new places. He liked meeting new people, even if those people were not human at all. A station worker came to greet him. The worker was a Bravani, a species that looked almost like humans, but with gray skin and no hair. His name tag said, Counselor Mick. "Welcome to Station 9, Mick said. His voice was flat and professional. "You are the new maintenance engineer?" "That's me," Tae-ho said. "Park Tae-ho. Happy to be here." Mick looked at him for a moment, as if he was surprised by something. Then he nodded and led Tae-ho through the busy corridors. The station was large. It had 12 levels, each one dedicated to different purposes. Level 1 was for docking and arrivals. Level 2 was for housing. Level 3 had markets and restaurants. Levels 4 through 6 were for offices and medical facilities. Levels 8 through 12 held the important systems: power, water, air, and communications. "What about Level 7? Tae-ho asked as they walked. Mick paused. His gray face seemed to become a little more pale. "Level 7 is cargo storage," he said. "You will not need to go there often." Tae-ho noticed the way Mick said those words. There was something behind them. A warning, maybe, or fear. "Is there a problem with Level 7? Tae-ho asked. "No problem," Mick said quickly. "Just, not many people go there. It is better that way." Tae-ho wanted to ask more questions, but Mick walked faster. The topic was clearly closed. Over the next few days, Tae-ho settled into his new life. His room was small but comfortable. He had a bed, a desk, a window that showed the stars, and a small kitchen area. He met his co-workers in the engineering department: 3 Bravani, 1 Tosk with green scales, and a Mira with too many eyes. They were friendly enough. They showed him the systems, explained the schedules, and taught him which tools worked best on alien technology. But every time Tae-ho mentioned Level 7, the conversation stopped. "We don't go there," said one of the Bravani engineers, a female named Sol. "Why not?" Tae-ho asked. Sol looked at the others. They all looked away. "There is someone who works there," she said quietly. "A Cathani, a female." Tae-ho waited for more information, but Sol said nothing else. "What's a Cathani?" he asked. The Tosk engineer made a sound like a hiss. "Predators," he said. "The worst kind. Their bodies release chemicals that make other species feel fear, deep fear. The kind you cannot control. It is in our blood. Our ancestors were their prey." "She has worked alone in that cargo bay for 3 years," Sewell added. "No one can stand to be near her. Even from a distance, the fear is too strong." Tae-ho thought about this. He had heard of species that caused fear responses in others. It was biology, not choice. The Cathani female had done nothing wrong. She was just born the way she was. "That sounds lonely," he said. The engineers looked at him strangely, as if he had said something they did not understand. 1 week later, Tae-ho received his new assignment. There was a broken filtration unit on Level 7. The air cleaning system was failing, and it needed immediate repair. His supervisor, a senior Bravani named Osk, called him into his office. "I need someone to fix the filtration unit on Level 7, Osk said. He did not look happy. I have asked every engineer on the station. No one will go. Tae-ho understood now. They were not asking him because he was the best choice. They were asking him because he was the only choice. I'll do it, Tae-ho said. Osk looked at him with surprise. You understand what is down there? The Kethani? I understand. She is dangerous, not because she wants to be, but because of what she is. Your body will tell you to run. Your heart will beat too fast. Your hands will shake. You will not be able to think clearly. Tae-ho shrugged. I'll be fine. Osk stared at him for a long moment. Then he shook his head slowly. Humans, he said, like it was a word he did not fully understand. Very well, the job is yours. But do not say I did not warn you. Tae-ho took his tools and walked to the elevator. He pressed the button for level 7. The elevator moved down and the numbers on the display changed. 8, 7. The doors opened. The hallway was dark. The lights were set to low power, giving everything a dim, gray color. Tae-ho stepped out and looked around. The corridor was empty, silent. He could hear his own footsteps echo against the metal floor. He followed the signs to the cargo bay. The door was large and heavy. He pressed the button to open it. Inside, the bay was huge. Tall shelves filled with containers and crates stretched up to the ceiling. The lights were even darker here, creating deep shadows between the rows. And there, in the middle of the bay, someone was working. Tae-ho saw her back first. She was tall, much taller than him. Her skin was covered in dark scales that seemed to absorb the light. Her arms were long, and her fingers ended in sharp claws. She moved with a silence that seemed unnatural for someone so large. Then she turned around. Her face was angular, with high bones and a strong jaw. Her eyes were large and gold, and they glowed slightly in the darkness. She looked at him, and for a moment, neither of them moved. Tae-ho felt something. A small pressure in his chest, a tiny voice in the back of his mind that said he should leave. But it was quiet, easy to ignore. Hello? He said. I'm here to fix the filtration unit. Can you show me where it is? The Kethani female stared at him. Her gold eyes were wide. She did not speak. She did not move. She was waiting for him to run. But Tae-ho just stood there, holding his toolbox, waiting for an answer. The Kethani female did not move. She stood completely still, like a statue carved from dark stone. Her gold eyes watched Tae-ho with an expression he could not read. Surprise, maybe, or confusion. Tae-ho waited. He was patient. He had learned a long time ago that patience was more useful than speed. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was deep and smooth, like water moving over rocks. You are not running, she said. No, Tae-ho agreed. Should I be? She tilted her head to one side. The movement was slow and careful, like a predator studying something it did not understand. Yes, she said. Everyone runs. Tae-ho looked around the cargo bay. It was clean and well organized. The containers were sorted by size and color. The floor was swept. Everything had its place. Someone had spent a lot of time making this space perfect. Nice place, he said. You keep it very neat. The Kethani female blinked. Her gold eyes narrowed slightly. You are strange, she said. I get that a lot. Tae-ho lifted his toolbox. So, the filtration unit? I was told it's broken. The air quality reports show problems in this section. She continued to stare at him. Then, slowly, she pointed to the far corner of the bay. There, she said, behind the third shelf. Thank you. Tae-ho walked past her, keeping his steps casual and easy. He could feel her eyes following him, watching every movement he made. He found the filtration unit without trouble. It was a standard model, the same kind used throughout the station. He set down his toolbox and opened the access panel. The problem was obvious: a burned connector and a clogged filter. Simple repairs. He could finish in 30 minutes. As he worked, he heard footsteps behind him. Soft and quiet, almost silent. The Cathani female had followed him. "What is your name?" she asked. "Park Tai-Ho. Most people just call me Tai-Ho." He looked over his shoulder at her. "What's yours?" She hesitated. It was a small pause, but Tai-Ho noticed it. "Vethra," she said. "Nice to meet you, Vethra." She made a sound. It might have been a laugh, but it was too short and too rough to be sure. "No one has said that to me in a very long time," she said. Tai-Ho turned back to his work. He removed the burned connector and reached into his toolbox for a replacement. "How long have you worked here?" he asked. 3 years. Alone? Yes. Tai-Ho thought about that. 3 years of working alone in a dark cargo bay. 3 years of silence. 3 years of people running away from her. "That sounds hard," he said. Vethra did not answer at first. When she spoke, her voice was quieter. "It is what it is." Tai-Ho installed the new connector and moved on to the clogged filter. He pulled it out and shook his head. It was completely blocked with dust and particles. "When was the last time someone checked this?" he asked. "I do not know. The previous engineer refused to come here. He sent a drone instead, but drones are not good at maintenance." Tai-Ho found a new filter in his kit and installed it. The unit hummed to life, running smoothly now. He closed the access panel and stood up. "All done," he said. "The air quality should improve in a few hours." Vethra looked at the filtration unit, then back at him. "You fixed it quickly." "It wasn't a big problem, just needed some attention." He picked up his toolbox and turned to leave. Then he stopped and looked back at her. "I should check this unit again in a few days," he said. "Make sure it's running properly. Would that be okay?" Vethra's gold eyes widened slightly. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Tai-Ho waited. "You want to come back?" she asked. "If it's okay with you, I don't want to bother you." Vethra looked at him like he was speaking a language she did not know. Then she nodded slowly. "It is okay," she said. Tai-Ho smiled. "Good. I'll see you in a few days then." He walked toward the door. He was almost there when Vethra spoke again. "Human?" He turned around. "Yes?" She was standing in the same spot, her claws hanging at her sides. Her gold eyes glowed in the dim light. She looked powerful and dangerous. But there was something else in her expression. Something fragile. "Everyone is scared of me," she said. "And why aren't you afraid?" Tai-Ho thought about the question. He knew about the Cathani now. He knew that their bodies produced chemicals that caused fear in other species. It was an evolutionary tool, developed over millions of years. Their ancestors had been hunters, and that fear response had helped them catch prey. But humans were different. "Do you know about Earth?" Tai-Ho asked. Vethra tilted her head. "Your home world, a dangerous planet, many predators." "That's right. Humans evolved alongside those predators. We lived with them for hundreds of thousands of years. Lions, wolves, bears, snakes. We learned to survive with all of them around us." He paused. "But we also learned something else. We learned that we could be predators too." Vethra listened without moving. "Humans are what's called persistence predators," Tai-Ho continued. "We don't have sharp claws or big teeth, but we can run for hours without stopping. We can chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. We can keep going when other creatures give up." He shrugged. "I guess because of that, we don't feel fear the same way other species do. Apex predators don't scare us. We learned to hunt them back." Vethra stared at him. Her gold eyes were unblinking. "You are a predator," she said slowly. "In a way, yes." "And you do not fear other predators?" "Not really. I respect them. I'm careful around them. But afraid? He shook his head. No. Vethra was silent for a long time. The cargo bay was quiet except for the soft hum of the filtration unit. I have never met anyone who was not afraid of me, she said finally. Not even other Kethani. My size, my appearance, even my own kind finds me intimidating. Teho felt a weight in those words. 3 years alone was bad enough, but to be feared even by your own species, to be isolated not just from strangers, but from everyone who might understand you? I'm sorry, he said. That must be very lonely. Vethra looked at him. Her expression changed, just slightly. Some of the hardness in her face softened. It is, she said quietly. Teho nodded. He didn't know what else to say, so he said something simple. I'll see you in a few days, Vethra. We can talk more then. He raised his hand in a small wave and left the cargo bay. The door closed behind him, and he walked back to the elevator. Behind him in the dark and silent bay, Vethra stood alone. She looked at the door for a long time after the human left. It had been 3 years since someone had spoken to her. 3 years since someone had looked at her without fear in their eyes. 3 years since someone had said her name. She didn't know what to do with the feeling growing inside her chest. It was warm and strange and unfamiliar. She thought it might be hope. Teho came back 3 days later. He told himself it was to check on the filtration unit. That was his job, after all. A good engineer always followed up on repairs. But he knew that was not the whole truth. He wanted to see Vethra again. He took the elevator down to level 7 and walked through the dark corridor. The door to the cargo bay opened and he stepped inside. Vethra was there, just like before, working among the tall shelves. She turned when she heard him enter. Her gold eyes found him immediately. You came back, she said. I said I would. Vethra looked at him for a moment. Then she nodded slowly, as if she was confirming something to herself. Yes, she said. You did. Teho walked over to the filtration unit and checked the readings. Everything was working perfectly. The air quality had improved exactly as expected. Looks good, he said. No problems. He closed the panel and stood up. Then he reached into the bag he had brought with him and pulled out a small container. I brought lunch, he said. Have you eaten? Vethra stared at the container. Her mouth opened slightly, showing the edges of her sharp teeth. You brought food? She asked. There's a good place on level 3. They make these rice bowls with vegetables and spicy sauce. I thought you might like to try it. He paused. If you eat this kind of thing, I don't actually know what Kethani eat. We eat meat, Vethra said, but we can eat plants too. We are not limited. Great. Teho sat down on a crate and opened the container. The smell of food filled the air. Come sit with me. Vethra did not move at first. She looked at him, then at the food, then back at him. She seemed unsure of what to do. I will not bite you, Teho said with a small smile. I know that, she said quickly. I am not going to bite you either. Good. Then we're both safe. Vethra made that rough sound again, the one that might have been a laugh. Then she walked over and sat down across from him. She moved carefully, keeping her claws away from the food container. Teho handed her a set of eating sticks. She took them and held them awkwardly in her large fingers. I have not used these before, she admitted. They take practice. Here, like this. He showed her how to hold them, how to pick up the food. She tried a few times and dropped the vegetables. Then she tried again and managed to get a bite to her mouth. This is good, she said, sounding surprised. Told you? They ate together in the quiet cargo bay. The lights were still dim and the shadows were long, but somehow it felt less dark than before. Can I ask you something? Teho said. Vethra nodded. What's it like, being feared by everyone? She stopped eating. Her gold eyes looked down at the food in front of her. It is tiring, she said slowly. At first, I was angry. I did not choose to be this way. I did not ask for this body or these chemicals, but everyone treated me like a monster anyway. She paused. Then I became sad. I tried to be small and quiet. I stayed away from others. I thought if I did not bother anyone, they would leave me alone. Did it work? No. They still feared me. They just feared me from farther away. Tejo felt his chest tighten. He had never thought about what it would be like to be feared just for existing, to walk into a room and see everyone back away, to know that no matter what you did, people would always see you as a threat. And now? He asked. How do you feel now? Vethra looked at him. Her gold eyes were steady. Now I feel nothing. I stopped waiting for things to change. I accepted that I would be alone. It was easier that way. She tilted her head. But then you came. And I messed up your system? Yes. A small pause. I do not know if I am angry about that or not. Tejo smiled. Fair enough. They finished eating, and Tejo packed up the empty containers. He should have left then. His job was done, but he didn't want to go yet. Tell me about your work, he said. What do you actually do down here? Vethra looked around the cargo bay. Her eyes moved over the shelves and containers with something like pride. I manage all the cargo that comes through the station, she said. I track shipments, organize storage, handle requests. I also maintain the cargo systems, the lifts, the scanners, the environmental controls. She paused. 3 years ago, the main cargo system had problems. It was slow and inefficient. I redesigned parts of it. Now it runs much better. You redesigned station systems? Yes. I studied engineering before I came here. Her voice became quieter. I wanted to work on ships, big ships. I wanted to design engines that could travel between galaxies. But no one would hire me. I made the other engineers too afraid to work. Tejo leaned forward. You're telling me you're a trained engineer with system design experience, and they have you sorting boxes in a dark cargo bay? It was the only job I could get. Tejo shook his head. It was such a waste. The station had a talented engineer hidden away on level 7, and no one even knew what she could do. That's wrong, he said. It is what it is, Vethra said again. It seemed to be her answer for many things. No. Tejo stood up. It's wrong. You're too skilled to be stuck down here alone. Your work should be recognized. Vethra looked up at him. Her expression was strange, confused and curious, and something else he couldn't name. Why do you care? She asked. It was a simple question, but it hit him hard. Why did he care? He had known Vethra for less than a week. She was an alien from a species he had never met before. She was feared by everyone on the station. By all logic, he should have done his job and walked away. But he hadn't. And he didn't want to. Because it's not fair, he said. Because you deserve better. Because... He stopped and thought about it. Because I like talking to you. You're smart and you're interesting and you have a really dry sense of humor that I appreciate. And I don't think you should be alone. Vethra stared at him. Her gold eyes were wide. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Tejo suddenly felt embarrassed. Maybe he had said too much. Maybe he had made things weird. Sorry, he said. I talk too much sometimes. No. Vethra's voice was soft. No, it is... I have not... She stopped and took a breath. No one has ever said things like that to me. Then people should talk to you more. She looked at him for a long moment. Then something changed in her face. The hardness melted a little. The walls came down just slightly. I would like that, she said quietly. I would like to talk to you more. Taeho smiled. Then I'll keep coming back. If that's okay with you. It is okay. Good. He picked up his bag and walked toward the door. Same time in a few days, I'll bring lunch again. I would like that, she said. He waved and left the cargo bay. As the door closed behind him, he found himself already looking forward to the next visit. And in the cargo bay, Vethra sat alone among her crates and containers. She looked at the spot where the human had been sitting. She thought about the things he had said. She was smart. She was interesting. He liked talking to her. No one had ever said those things to her before. She didn't know what to do with this feeling. This warmth in her chest that would not go away. But for the first time in 3 years, she thought that maybe she didn't want it to go away. Maybe she wanted it to stay. The visits became regular. Every few days, Taeho would take the elevator down to level 7. He would bring food from different places around the station. Vethra would clear a space among the crates, and they would eat together and talk. They talked about many things. Taeho told her about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests, about the cities full of people and cars, about his family who lived in a small town near the mountains. Vethra told him about the Kethani homeworld, a planet of dark jungles and deep rivers, where her people had evolved as the top predators for millions of years. She told him about her education, about her dreams of designing starship engines. He told her about his decision to leave Earth and work in space, about the loneliness of being far from home. Do you miss it? She asked one day. Your planet. Sometimes, he admitted. I miss my mother's cooking. I miss the sound of rain on the roof. But I wanted to see what else was out there. I wanted to meet new people and learn new things. Even people like me. Taeho looked at her. Especially people like you. Vethra turned her face away, but not before he saw the way her gold eyes softened. Their friendship did not go unnoticed. The other engineers started asking questions. They saw Taeho going to level 7 regularly. They saw him bringing food and staying for hours. They didn't understand. What do you do down there? Asked Sol, the Bravani engineer. I talked to Vethra, Taeho said simply. You talked to her? About what? About everything. She's very smart. She knows more about cargo systems than anyone I've ever met. She actually redesigned the main sorting algorithm 3 years ago. Did you know that? Sul looked uncomfortable. I did not know that. You should ask her about it sometime. Sul's gray face became pale. I cannot go near her. The fear. It is too strong. Taeho understood. He didn't blame them. Biology was not something you could control, but it still made him sad that Vethra had to suffer for something that was not her fault. The rumors spread through the station. Some people said Taeho was brave, some said he was crazy, some said Vethra must be controlling him somehow, using chemicals or mind tricks to keep him coming back. That's not how it works, Taeho told them. She's not doing anything to me. I just like being her friend. Most people didn't believe him. They couldn't imagine wanting to spend time with something that made them so afraid. But Taeho didn't care what they thought. He kept visiting level 7. He kept bringing lunch. He kept talking to Vethra. And slowly, she started to change. At first, the changes were small. She laughed more, real laughs. Not just that rough sound. She stood a little straighter. She looked at him when they talked instead of looking at the floor. Then the changes became bigger. One day, Taeho was working on a difficult problem. A power coupling on level 8 was failing, and he couldn't figure out why. He had tried everything he could think of, but nothing worked. Show me the diagrams, Vethra said. He pulled up the schematics on his tablet and handed it to her. She studied them for several minutes, her gold eyes moving quickly over the lines and numbers. Here, she said, pointing to a junction box. The problem is not the coupling. The problem is the regulator upstream. It is sending too much power and the coupling cannot handle the load. Taeho looked at the diagram. She was right. He had been looking at the wrong part of the system. "How did you see that so fast?" he asked. "I told you. I studied engineering." He went to level 8 and checked the regulator. It was failing, just like she said. He replaced it, and the coupling worked perfectly. After that, he started asking for her help more often. She was happy to give it. She knew the station systems better than most of the engineers who worked on them every day. "You should be on the engineering team," Taeho said one evening. "You're better than half the people there." "They would never accept me," Vethra said. "They would if they got to know you." She gave him a look, the one that meant he was being too hopeful about the galaxy. "Maybe," she said, but her voice said she didn't believe it. One day, Taeho arrived at level 7 to find Vethra waiting by the door. She had never done that before. "I have something to show you," she said. She led him through the cargo bay to a small room in the back. It was her personal workspace, a desk, a chair, some tools, and a computer. On the desk was a small device, about the size of his fist. "What is this?" he asked. "A prototype." Her voice was careful, like she was afraid of what he might think. "It is a new kind of power converter, more efficient than standard models. I have been working on it for 2 years. Taeho picked up the device and turned it over in his hands. It was well made. Clean lines, precise connections, professional quality. "This is incredible," he said. "You think so?" "Vethra, this is really good. Have you shown it to anyone?" She shook her head. "Who would I show it to? No one comes here." Taeho set the device down carefully. He looked at her with serious eyes. "This needs to be seen. This could change how stations manage power. It could be used on ships, on colonies, everywhere. You need to share this." Vethra's claws clicked together nervously. "I do not think anyone would listen to me." "Then I'll make them listen." She looked at him with those wide gold eyes. "You would do that?" "Of course I would. You're my friend." The word hung in the air between them. Friend. It was such a simple word, but Taeho knew it meant more to her than he could fully understand. "Friend," she repeated softly. "I have never had one before." "You do now." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something he had never seen her do. She smiled. It was a small smile, just a slight lift at the corners of her mouth. Her sharp teeth showed a little. It would have scared most people. But to Taeho, it was beautiful. "Thank you, Taeho," she said, "for everything." "You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do." She paused. "Before you came, I had accepted that I would always be alone. I had stopped hoping for anything different. But you changed that. You saw me. Not the monster everyone else sees, just me." Taeho felt something warm in his chest. He smiled back at her. "That's what friends do," he said. They stood there in her small workspace, surrounded by tools and diagrams and one small device that could change everything. And for the first time in a very long time, neither of them felt alone. But outside, in the other parts of the station, people were talking. The rumors about the human and the Cathani were spreading, and not everyone was happy about what they heard. Change was coming. Taeho just didn't know it yet. The message came on a quiet morning. Taeho was in his room getting ready for another visit to level 7 when his communicator beeped. It was a summons from the station commander. "Report to command office, immediately." Taeho read the message twice. He had never been called to the command office before. Engineers usually dealt with their supervisors, not the commander himself. Something was wrong. He walked through the corridors to the administrative level. The command office was at the center of the station, a large room with windows that looked out at the stars. Commander Osk was waiting for him inside. Osk was Senior Bravani, older than the others on the station. His gray skin had darker spots near his temples, and his eyes were sharp and cold. He sat behind a wide desk covered with data tablets and reports. "Sit down, Engineer Park," he said. Tejo sat. He kept his face calm, but his mind was racing. He had a feeling he knew what this was about. "I have received complaints," Osk said, "about your behavior." "What behavior?" "Your visits to Level 7, your association with the Cathani female." Tejo nodded slowly. "Her name is Vethra." Osk's eyes narrowed. "I know her name. I also know that she is dangerous. Many residents are concerned about your relationship with her." "We're friends," Tejo said simply. "I visit her. We talk. We eat lunch together. That's all." "That is not all." Osk leaned forward. "You are making others uncomfortable. They worry about your safety. They worry about what she might be doing to you." "She's not doing anything to me." "Then why do you keep going back? No one else can stand to be near her. The fear response is overwhelming. Yet you feel nothing?" "I feel something," Tejo admitted. "A small pressure in my chest. But it's easy to ignore. Human biology is different." Osk studied him for a long moment. His expression was difficult to read. "I understand that you may not experience fear the way others do," he said finally. "But you must understand the position you are putting me in. The other residents are frightened. They see you going to Level 7 day after day and they think something is wrong. They think you are under her control." "I'm not under anyone's control. I'm just spending time with my friend." "She is not your friend." Osk's voice was hard. "She is a Cathani. Her species evolved to hunt others. Her body produces chemicals that make every other species in this station feel terror. She may seem friendly to you, but that is because she wants something from you." Tejo felt anger rise in his chest. He pushed it down and kept his voice steady. "With respect, Commander, you're wrong. Vethra hasn't asked me for anything. She doesn't want anything from me except conversation. She's been alone for 3 years because no one will give her a chance. She's not a monster. She's just a person who happens to look different." Osk shook his head. "You are naive, human. You do not understand what she is capable of." "I understand perfectly. She's capable of running the entire cargo system by herself. She's capable of redesigning station algorithms. She's capable of building a power converter that's more efficient than anything else on this station." Tejo leaned forward. "She's brilliant, Commander, and she's wasting away on Level 7 because everyone is too afraid to see it." Osk was silent. His cold eyes studied Tejo like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "You truly believe this," he said. "I know this." Another long silence. Then Osk stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the stars. "I'm going to give you a choice," he said. "Stop visiting Level 7. End your association with the Cathani. If you do this, we will forget this conversation and move on." Tejo waited. He knew there was more. "If you refuse," Osk continued, "I will have to take action. Your behavior is causing problems on this station. I cannot allow it to continue. You will be reassigned, transferred to another station, far from here." The words hit Tejo like a punch. Leave the station. Leave his job. Leave Vethra. "You're asking me to abandon my friend," he said. "I am asking you to be reasonable." Tejo stood up. His hands were shaking slightly, but his voice was steady. "No." Osk turned around. "No. No. I will not stop visiting Vethra. I will not abandon her just because other people are scared. She hasn't done anything wrong. She's being punished for existing, and that's not right." He took a breath. "If you want to reassign me, then do it. I would rather lose my job than abandon my friend." Osk stared at him. For a moment, something flickered in his cold eyes. It might have been surprise, or it might have been something else, something like respect. But it was gone quickly. "Very well," Osk said. I will begin the transfer paperwork. You have 1 week to prepare. Tejo nodded. He turned and walked toward the door. Engineer Park, Osk called. Tejo stopped, but didn't turn around. You are a fool, Osk said, but you are an honorable one. Tejo didn't answer. He walked out of the command office and closed the door behind him. The news spread through the station quickly. By the end of the day, everyone knew. The human engineer had stood up for the Cathani. He had refused to abandon her, and now he was being transferred. Some people thought he was crazy. Some thought he was brave. Most didn't know what to think. Tejo went down to level 7 that evening. He found Vethra in her usual spot, working among the crates. She looked up when he entered, and her gold eyes immediately saw that something was wrong. What happened? She asked. He told her everything. The summons, the complaints, the choice he was given, the decision he had made. Vethra listened without speaking. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. You should not have done that, she said finally. Her voice was rough. I had to. No. You could have agreed. You could have stayed. You could have kept your job and your life here. She turned away from him. I am not worth losing everything for. Tejo walked around her so he could see her face. Her gold eyes were bright with something he had never seen in them before. Pain. Listen to me, he said firmly. You are worth it. You are smart and talented and kind. You deserve to have friends. You deserve to be seen. And if this station can't understand that, then I don't want to be here anyway. Vethra looked at him. Her claws were clenched tight. No one has ever... She stopped. Her voice was shaking. No one has ever defended me before. Then they were wrong. All of them. She made a sound. Not a laugh, not a cry. Something in between. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply. I do not want you to go, she said quietly. I don't want to go either. They stood there in the dark cargo bay, surrounded by crates and shadows. The weight of what was happening pressed down on both of them, but even in that moment, Tejo didn't regret his choice. Some things were more important than a job. Some things were more important than safety. Some things were worth standing up for, and Vethra was one of them. The alarm woke the entire station. Tejo was in his room when it started, a loud, sharp sound that cut through everything. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Emergency warnings scrolled across every screen. Critical system failure, main reactor cooling malfunction, all personnel report to emergency stations. Tejo grabbed his tools and ran. The corridors were full of people. Aliens of every species rushed toward escape pods and emergency shelters. Their faces were filled with fear. Real fear. Not the kind Vethra caused, but the kind that came from knowing you might die. Tejo pushed through the crowd and made his way to the engineering section. The other engineers were already there, gathered around a central console. Commander Osk was with them, his gray face tight with worry. What's happening? Tejo asked. Sul, the Bravani engineer, answered without looking up from her screen. The main reactor cooling system is failing. Temperature is rising too fast. If we can't stop it, the reactor will overheat and explode. How long do we have? Maybe 2 hours. Maybe less. Tejo looked at the data on the screen. The numbers were bad. The cooling system used a network of pipes and regulators to keep the reactor at safe temperatures. Something had gone wrong in the main control unit, the part that managed all the smaller systems. Can we fix it? He asked. Sul shook her head. The control unit is too damaged. We would need to rebuild it from scratch. But even if we had the parts, no one here knows the system well enough. It was upgraded 3 years ago, and the original engineer left the station. 3 years ago. Tejo felt something click in his mind. Wait, he said. Who upgraded the system? Sul looked at him. Her eyes went wide as she understood what he was asking. The Cathani, she whispered. She did it. Tae-ho turned to Commander Osk. Vethra designed those upgrades. She knows the system better than anyone. She can fix this. Osk's face went pale. No, we cannot. We don't have a choice, Tae-ho interrupted. She's the only one who can save this station. The commander was silent. Around them, the alarms kept blaring. The temperature readings kept climbing. Finally, Osk nodded. Bring her, he said. Tae-ho ran to the elevator and pressed the button for level 7. The ride down felt longer than ever. When the doors opened, he sprinted through the dark corridor and burst into the cargo bay. Vethra was already moving. She had heard the alarms. She knew something was wrong. What is happening? She demanded. Reactor cooling failure. The main control unit is damaged. The station is going to explode if we don't fix it. He grabbed her arm. You're the only one who can do this. You designed the upgrades. You know how it works. Vethra's gold eyes went sharp and focused. All the softness disappeared. She was an engineer now, not a lonely outcast. Take me there, she said. They ran together through the corridors. People saw them coming and scattered out of the way. Some screamed, some froze in place. The fear response hit them like a wave as Vethra passed. But Vethra didn't slow down, and neither did Tae-ho. They reached the reactor control room. The other engineers were there, but they all backed away when Vethra entered. Their faces were pale. Their hands were shaking. The fear was overwhelming them. Vethra ignored them. She went straight to the main console and started checking the data. The primary regulator is destroyed, she said. The backup systems are failing. I need to rebuild the control matrix manually. What do you need? Tae-ho asked. Tools, parts, and someone to help me. She looked at the other engineers. They were pressed against the walls, unable to move closer. I need someone who can work beside me. No one moved. The fear was too strong. Their bodies wouldn't let them approach her. Tae-ho stepped forward. I'll do it. Vethra looked at him. For just a second, something warm passed through her gold eyes. Then she nodded. Follow me. The reactor was in a separate chamber below the control room. It was hot inside. Too hot. Warning lights flashed everywhere. The air smelled like burning metal. Vethra led him to an access panel near the base of the reactor. She opened it and revealed a mess of wires and circuits. The control matrix is in there, she said. I need to disconnect the damaged parts and reconnect new ones, but the space is small. I cannot fit my hands inside. You will need to do the physical work while I guide you. Tae-ho looked at the tight space. It was barely big enough for his arms. Tell me what to do, he said. They worked together for the next hour. Vethra gave instructions in a calm, steady voice. Tae-ho reached into the access panel and followed her directions exactly. Disconnect this wire, remove this component, connect this new part here, be careful of that junction, it's still carrying power. The heat was intense. Sweat poured down Tae-ho's face. His arms ached from the awkward angles, but he kept working. Temperature is still rising, Vethra said. We need to move faster. Tae-ho pushed harder. His hands were shaking from exhaustion, but he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. The whole station depended on them. Almost there, Vethra said. One more connection. The blue wire to the secondary port. Tae-ho found the wire. His fingers were slick with sweat. He tried to connect it, but it slipped. He tried again. It slipped again. Tae-ho, Vethra said. Her voice was tight. We have 30 seconds. He took a breath. He steadied his hands. He focused on nothing except that one wire and that one port. He made the connection. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the console beeped. The warning lights changed from red to yellow. The temperature readings stopped climbing and began to drop. The cooling system was working again. Tae-ho pulled his arms out of the access panel and collapsed against the floor. His whole body was trembling. His hands were burned and raw from the heat. But the station was saved. Vethra stood over him, looking down. Her gold eyes were bright. You did it, she said. "We did it." She reached down with one clawed hand and helped him to his feet. Her grip was strong but gentle. They walked back to the control room together. The other engineers were still there, waiting. When Vethra and Tae-ho entered, they all looked up. The room was silent. Then Sul stepped forward. Her face was still pale with fear, but she fought against it. She looked at Vethra with something like respect. "You saved us," she said. "Thank you." Vethra blinked. She didn't seem to know how to respond. "I was just doing my job," she said finally. "No." Sul shook her head. "You were doing more than that. You could have let us die. After how we treated you, you had every reason to walk away. But you didn't." Vethra looked at Tai-ho. He smiled at her. "That's the kind of person she is," he said. "I've been trying to tell you." The other engineers looked at each other. Slowly, some of them nodded. They were still afraid. Their bodies couldn't help it. But something had changed in their eyes. They were starting to see. Commander Osk pushed through the group. He stopped in front of Vethra and studied her for a long moment. "It seems I owe you an apology," he said. "And a debt." Vethra straightened her back and met his eyes. She stood at her full height, tall and powerful and proud. "I do not need your apology," she said, "but I would like your respect." Osk was silent. Then slowly he nodded. "You have it," he said. Tae-ho felt something warm bloom in his chest. He looked at Vethra, and for the first time, he saw her standing in a room full of people who weren't running away. It was a start. Things changed after that day. It didn't happen all at once. Fear that had built up over millions of years of evolution couldn't disappear overnight. But slowly, step by step, the station began to see Vethra differently. It started with small things. Sul came to level 7 a few days after the reactor crisis. She was trembling the entire time, fighting against every instinct in her body. But she stood in the doorway of the cargo bay and asked Vethra a question about the cooling system upgrades. Vethra answered. Sul thanked her and left. The next day, she came back with another question, and then another. Other engineers followed. They were scared. They couldn't help it. Some of them could only stay for a few minutes before the fear became too much. But they kept coming. They asked about systems and designs and algorithms. They listened to her answers. Word spread through the station. The Cathani who saved them. The engineer who worked alone in the dark. The monster who turned out to be the smartest person on level 7. People started to talk. One morning, Tae-ho was walking through the market on level 3 when he heard 2 Tosk merchants discussing Vethra. "I heard she designed half the cargo systems on this station," one said. "And the reactor upgrades," the other added. "The ones that almost killed us, but also saved us. I heard the human is her friend. He's not afraid of her at all. Humans are strange creatures. Maybe, but maybe the Cathani is not as dangerous as we thought." Tae-ho smiled and kept walking. The changes continued. Commander Osk canceled the transfer orders. He didn't apologize. That wasn't his way. But he came to Tae-ho's workstation and told him simply, "You will not be reassigned. Your work here is valuable." Tae-ho nodded. "Thank you." "Commander?" Osk hesitated. Then he added, "You were right about her. I was wrong." It was the closest thing to an apology Tae-ho would ever get. He accepted it. More residents began to acknowledge Vethra. It was awkward and clumsy at first. A nod in the corridor, a quick greeting, a message sent to her workstation thanking her for her help with the reactor. No one could stand beside her without fear. No one could sit with her the way Tae-ho did. But they tried to show respect from a distance. For Vethra, it was enough. "They are still afraid," she told Tae-ho one evening. They were sitting in her cargo bay, eating dinner together as usual. "I know," he said, "but they see me now. They know my name. They know what I can do." She paused. That is more than I had before. Tae-ho looked at her. The dim lights of the cargo bay made her dark scales shine. Her gold eyes were calm and steady. "Is it enough?" he asked. She thought about it for a long time. "For now," she said. "I do not need everyone to stop being afraid of me. I understand that their fear is not something they can control." She looked at him. "I just needed one person to see me, and you did." Tae-ho felt that warmth in his chest again, the feeling he got whenever she said things like that. "I'm glad I did," he said. "I am glad too." They sat together in comfortable silence, eating their food and watching the shadows move between the shelves. After a while, Vethra spoke again. "There is something I want to ask you." "What is it?" She hesitated. It was rare for her to hesitate. She was usually direct and confident, but this time she seemed uncertain. "My homeworld," she said. "Kethra. I have not been back in many years. I left because I did not fit there. I was too large, too intimidating, even for my own people." She paused. "But lately I have been thinking about it, about the jungles and the rivers, about my family." Tae-ho listened quietly. "I would like to go back," she continued. "Just for a visit, to see if things have changed, to see if I have changed." She looked at him with those bright gold eyes. "Would you come with me?" Tae-ho felt surprise, then something deeper. She was inviting him to her home, to meet her family, to see the place she came from. It was a big thing, an important thing. "Are you sure?" he asked. "I'm human. I don't know if your people would accept me." Vethra made that rough sound, the one that was definitely a laugh now. "My people will be confused by you," she said. "A small creature with no claws and no scales who walks beside me without fear. They will think you are either very brave or very stupid." "What will you tell them?" "I will tell them you are my friend." She said the word carefully, like it was precious. "I will tell them you are the first person who ever saw me." Tae-ho smiled. He reached out and put his hand on her arm. Her scales were warm and smooth. "Then yes," he said. "I'll come with you." Vethra's expression changed. The hardness that had always been in her face softened completely. Her mouth curved up in a real smile, not small and hidden, but full and open. She was beautiful. "Thank you, Tae-ho," she said, "for everything. You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do. Before you came, I was alone. I had given up. I had accepted that I would always be the monster in the dark." She shook her head slowly. "But you changed that. You showed me that I could be seen, that I could be known, that I could be—" She stopped. She seemed to be searching for the right word. "Loved?" Tae-ho offered quietly. Vethra looked at him. Her gold eyes were shining. "Yes," she said softly. "Loved." Tae-ho stood up. He walked around the crate they were using as a table and stood in front of her. She was taller than him, even when she was sitting down. He had to look up to meet her eyes. "You are not a monster, Vethra," he said. "You never were. You're just someone who needed a friend. And I'm glad I got to be that friend." She looked down at him for a long moment. Then she reached out with one clawed hand and touched his face gently. Her touch was careful. She was always careful with him. "And I am glad," she said, "that you were not afraid." They stayed like that for a moment, Human and Kethani, two people from completely different worlds who had somehow found each other in a dark cargo bay on the edge of space. Then Vethra smiled again. "We should start planning the trip," she said. "My family will want to prepare. They will need time to understand that I am bringing a human home." Tae-ho laughed. "How do you think they'll react?" "My mother will probably try to feed you too much. My brothers will want to test your strength. My father will ask 100 questions about Earth. That doesn't sound so bad. It won't be. She looked at him with warmth in her gold eyes. They will see what I see. Someone brave. Someone kind. Someone who looks at the things everyone else fears and sees something worth knowing. Tejo felt his heart swell. Let's go home then, he said. Both our homes, eventually. Yes, Vethra agreed. Both our homes. They sat back down together and started making plans. Outside the cargo bay, the station continued its slow rotation through space. Aliens of every species went about their lives, carrying their fears and hopes with them. And on level 7, in a place that used to be dark and lonely, two friends talked and laughed and dreamed about the future. Neither of them was alone anymore, and that made all the difference.